There's really nothing to celebrate about Republicans' quote, big, beautiful bill, unless you're a billionaire or an oil company. But for everyone else, this so-called big, beautiful bill is in fact nothing more than a big, fat grift, taking money away from people, raising costs on average Americans, all to help the billionaires. And today I want to talk about how Republicans' big grift is an assault on America's clean energy, the bill that was just released by the Energy and Commerce Committee, or at least that part of it. Now, Donald Trump and Republicans claim to want American energy dominance. But from the moment he became president, they've been hell-bent on killing the clean energy investments America needs to meet the energy needs of tomorrow. They say they want more energy, and then they cut off the cheapest, quickest, most available form of energy for ideological and grift reasons. In a moment, I'll talk about the awful Republican bill that just came out of committee. But first, I want to talk about a specific project. Donald Trump's clean energy vendetta is wreaking particular havoc on New York's offshore wind industry. And it's a warning to the rest of America how he will deal with clean energy projects. What's happened here is utterly despicable, amazing, and awful. A few weeks ago, the Trump administration suddenly and without explanation issued a stop work order on New York's Empire Wind Farm, a $7 billion project already underway by the company Equinor. This is not some project in the planning stages. No. This was approved years ago. $3-4 billion has been put into developing the offshore windmills that will provide energy for hundreds of thousands of homes, clean energy, cheap energy. And all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, the Secretary of Interior says you must stop the project because the environmental impact statement was rushed. The company asks why. And the Interior Secretary says, well, there's a report that NOAA has issued, that's in the Commerce Department, that says it, that says this was rushed and inadequate in terms of the environmental impact. So the company asked, I have asked repeatedly for the Commerce Department to show us what the reasoning is, which we think there's none. To show us the specifics of why they halted this project out of the clear blue, a project employing hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people, a project where there are boats, I think close to 50 of them, right offshore, actually building these offshore wind turbines. Now it's stopped, but there is no explanation. This is like a dictatorship. No due process, no explanation. Out of the blue, just as billions have already been spent, and just as construction is underway off the coast, just as 30% of the project is built, Donald Trump and Howard Lutnick say halt. It's outrageous. Give us a reason, says the company. We've invested billions here in America. They're a Norwegian company, one of the largest offshore wind companies in the world. They're well qualified. They're well known. They have a good history. Give us a reason. Show us what's wrong with the approval previously, 2-3 years ago, of the environmental statement. And there's silence. No answer. No reason. And the project is now on hold. All the boats are out there. The workers are out there. No explanation has been given, nor has Equinor been given any opportunity to discuss and address potential problems. This is not how businesses operate. Our friends on the other side like to talk about running government more like a business. Well, this is just outrageous. And every week that Empire Wind sits idle, it costs $50 million. So now the project may die altogether. Why? We know why. Donald Trump hates offshore wind. He hates offshore wind because supposedly years ago they built a wind farm off the coast of his Scotland golf course. He fought to kill it, he lost. So now he's taking it out on all offshore wind to the detriment of the American energy needs. In a way that is it's like a dictatorship. Stop, they say. We're not giving you a reason. It's outrageous. It's malicious and intentional sabotage. It's an outright attack on New York jobs, on New York workers. And it's happening for no other reason than partisan ideology and political sociopathy. Partisan ideology because the right-wing oil and gas barons hate clean energy, even though it's the cheapest way to reduce our energy needs. And political sociopathy because Donald Trump hates offshore wind because he didn't like windmills off his golf course in Scotland. The Trump administration must at least give an explanation so the company can answer why they should continue with the project. I call on Secretary Lutnick to immediately release the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration report that was used as justification to halt work on the Empire Wind project. New Yorkers, Americans, the company which invests heavily in America deserve to know why halt this project. What's the deal? What's the justification? And what's the plan to get the jobs back on track? These are good jobs, good-paying jobs. If everything's on the level, the administration should not fear being transparent with Equinor. What's the answer? How can they shut the project down and give no explanation? We've called the Secretary of Interior. He says it's up to Lutnick and NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They're the ones who say that this was approved too quickly, even though it's been working with no problems for years. And work is ongoing, and the construction is ongoing. And by the way, to everyone investing in America, whether you're an American company or not, this should be a shot across the bow, a warning of what this administration can do. Out of the clear blue, just say stop. No explanation, no reason, no ands, ifs, or buts. Our business community should be outraged about how this business is being treated. Not just the energy business, they can do this anywhere. We need answers, and at the very minimum, the explanation as why they ordered this project stopped, which I imagine is very flimsy and came from Donald Trump's sociopathy because he hates offshore wind because of what they did. He didn't like those windmills off the golf course in Scotland. It's well known that's why he hates offshore wind. So what happened with Equinor is just a disgusting travesty that must be reversed. It is so outrageously unfair, malicious, and counterproductive for America's energy needs. Now, let me go talk to the broader issue, the Republican bill that just came out of committee on the House side. What's happening with Equinor is frankly part of a larger pattern of clean energy destruction from Donald Trump and Republicans. Before our very eyes, Republicans want to kill American clean energy in its tracks. that want to use their so-called one big beautiful bill to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act. Most of all, they want to cut taxes for the ultra-rich and big corporations and make Americans pay for it with higher energy costs by rendering unusable the wind and solar tax breaks that were put into the legislation in the IRA. And what do American people need to know? Republicans are raising taxes on Americans' electricity. One independent study, it's raising costs on Americans' electricity as well. One independent study shows families and businesses will see their electricity bills go up by 10% as soon as next year. Hear that, America? This ideological craziness that we shouldn't have wind and solar. Some people don't think, there are some, I guess, who feel we shouldn't have coal, oil, and natural gas. But actually, if we're going to meet America's energy needs, we need clean energy. It's the only way to go, even if you're for natural gas and oil to be used, even though those are far less now efficient and productive than solar and wind energy. But to do this, to meet the ideological thirst to shut this problem, to shut this process down, to shut clean energy down, they're going to raise your electric bills, Mr. and Mrs. America, all Americans, as much as 10% by next year. States like Kansas, Missouri, and South Carolina could see prices rise by 15%. Wyoming, I saw my friend from Wyoming in the back there, could see nearly a 30% increase in energy costs, hundreds of dollars a year extra for families and businesses, for a family or small business already dealing with inflation and a trade war. An extra 10% in costs could mean the difference between staying open and shutting down. If Republicans repeal the IRA, a generation of American manufacturing jobs will also be an immediate risk, most of them in red states, although they'll be in red states and blue states alike. The IRA has already spurred more than $270 billion in clean energy investment. And that's in addition to the $100 billion in domestic manufacturing to build these projects right here at home. All of this will be shut down if the House Republican bill passes the House and passes the Senate and is signed into law. Here's something for my Republican colleagues to think about. 9 of the 10 top congressional districts receiving manufacturing investment from the IRA are Republican districts. Those investments are over $5 billion each. For a party that claims to be pro-business, what they're doing with Equinor is so anti-business and so disruptive of business decision-making. And what they're doing here is just the same. Just the same. The restrictions they put in the bill are such that if a project, as I understand it, if a project is not completed by 2028, it loses all its credits, which means project after project after project, clean energy projects for wind and solar, and others will be shut down. So I have a message to the House Republicans in the Ways and Means Committee who just passed the bill on a strict party line vote. To approve these cuts is to approve a death sentence for energy and manufacturing jobs for your communities. These investments include a $700 million battery manufacturing plant in Fort Worth, Texas, the more than $5 billion in battery manufacturing at new and existing facilities in Fayette County, Ohio, or multiple solar manufacturing facilities in the Phoenix metro area of Arizona. And mark my words, if Republicans gut the IRA, it would be a gift to the Chinese Communist Party. Jobs that should belong in America will go to cities like Chengdu, China, because China's not cutting back on clean energy. No way. They're going to get way ahead of us on this industry like they did on electric cars, and Americans will pay the price in higher energy costs, in fewer jobs, and in losing the leadership on another industry to China. But this one didn't have to happen. The RA did a great job at getting America moving and ahead of China, and now they're taking it away. So putting it all together, the Republican bill, what does it mean for the middle class? Higher electricity bills, hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs erased around the country, rising insurance premiums, particularly on states by the water, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, South Carolina. Their insurance premiums are going up now because we don't have enough clean energy and there's too much climate change with tornadoes and hurricanes and floods and Lord what else. And so insurers, they don't want to insure anymore. They want to insure at such high prices that people can't sell their homes in those states and across the country. And people, young people who want to buy a home can't because the insurance is too high. And it's too high because we don't have enough clean energy and they're cutting it off. So these are all terrible prices to pay just to lower taxes for the ultra-rich, just to satisfy the ideological thirst of oil and gas and coal barons who hate clean energy because they know it's the future and they know they are not the future.